Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear brothers and sisters. This week we are going to talk about the second part of the expenditure cycle, payroll processing and fixed asset procedures. So when we talk about payroll, for sure we will talk about resume, about recruiting the staff and evaluating them, also about training the staff, about appraisal the performance of the staff, and also about keeping the record for the staff, and as well as for dismissing the staff voluntarily or okay. So human resource management processing, we have starting by recruiting and hiring new employees, training the existing and new staff, job assignment, meaning that we give the assignment and job specification and duties to each employee. Also, compensation. This is the payroll, mainly about the money, the salary, and other compensations, bonuses, and so on. Performance evaluation, evaluation of the performance of the staff. Then discharging of the employees, either voluntarily or normally, management would ask the following questions relating to their HR department or HR system. First question, what skills do our employees hold? Second, what skills do we need to accomplish our strategy? Third question, are there problems with employees turnover, absenteeism, or tardiness? We mean by either the employees having a problem in coming in on time, they keep absent and so on. So this is also one of the uh, problems should be handled by human resource system. Before we go to the payroll conceptual system, let's talk about the payroll cycle activities, starting by updating the payroll master data, meaning that if the for updating about the new stuff, if we have any new recruitment, so we record the personal information, we record the salary, and the other compensation. Then the second activity is validate the time and attendance data based on the timesheets or the time card for each staff, time in, time out, bunch in, bunch out. So all of this information will be the validation process of the attendance. And then prepare payroll, including payroll register and deduction register. Deduction register normally based on the validation of time and attendance. Then disperse the payroll. We process the payment to the payroll list of the employees. Lastly, pay the tax and miscellaneous deduction like EPF, insurance, and those stuff that we deduct from salaries and so on, and we need to settle with the government tax or the insurance companies and so on. Talking about the conceptual system of payroll, starting from the personal department or the human resource department in preparing the personal actions forms, which carry activating new employees, changing pay rate, deduction, and job classifications modifications. So all of this will be in the personal departments. The second one is production employees file will have two forms. Number one is job ticket. Job ticket account for the time spent on each job. Cost accounting uses this ticket to allocate the changes or the charges, sorry, to work in progress WIP, working in progress allocation. Then time cards are used to capture the total time worked each pay period for the payroll calculation. Okay, so here is an example of personal action form in let's say having the record of salary, and we determine also the current salary, the current bonus level, also if there is a last increase date and the next increase date. Also somehow it will determine current performance rating, and as well as the supervisors and so on. Uh, you can see this kind of forms, but sometimes you can see different types of forms, but it serves the same purpose. Then here we have the job tickets, and we can see here it's allocate the department numbers. It can be used by different departments, and you can see here, let's say this is based on the departments, based on the employee numbers, based on the timing, and based of finish, prepare, reordered, and so on. But please take notes that job tickets now, most of the companies are using digital forms or digital file, so you may not find much in manual like what we have here. Here also the time card, and the time card here is I believe you can see in many shops still using this time card, especially on if you go to Super 7, Maydeen, and so on. You can still see this kind of old time card machine, that the the time record and staff, where staff can take their own card and bring it to the machine, and it will record the time in, time out. But most of the companies, they are moving toward the application, using the application, either fingerprint or even using the face recognition and so on. The case in OSIM, 1 year ago, we used the screen fingerprint punch in, punch out system, but now we move to the application or USIM application time record. Okay, so continuing talking about the conceptual system of payroll. After cost accounting allocate labor costs to the working in progress account, charges are summarized in labor distribution summary and forwarded to the general ledger function. Then payroll department receive pay rate and withholding data from personnel department, and hours worked from production departments. So by reconciling the payroll, the pay rate and withholding information from personal department, and the hours worked from the production departments, they can it is a kind of point of control to reconcile the records. And then the payroll department will prepare the payroll register, and then enters information into employee payroll records. What they will do, they will prepare paycheck and send them to distribution or distribution paycheck function. And here normally they will send paycheck in total amount. Then they will file times card, personal actions forms, and payroll register copy for future use, and which also consider one of the internal control system in the proper documentations. When we prepare the paychecks, we distribute the paychecks to the employees, and in the same time we prepare the account payable, the recording the liability of the company of the salaries that the company obligate to pay to the employees, and then prepare the cash disbursement. And in preparing the cash disbursement, we should prepare a single check for entire payroll and deposit it into a payroll impost account, which is used only for payroll. These two action is considered and one of the is considered internal control activities. So preparing a single check for entire payroll, not preparing sending to the bank a check for each employees. We send in one package for a total amount of payroll list, and also we use impressed account, which is the account where the staff we deposit the total amount of the payroll, and staff will use the paychecks they have according to their names and collected personally. Okay, so a copy sent to account payable and journal voucher prepared and then sent to the general ledger function to record the payment disbursement. The last function in the conceptual system for payroll cycle is updating general ledger. In general ledger functions, receiving the labor distribution summary, which come from the preparing the payroll list, and also the disbursement voucher and general voucher when we start sending the or preparing the disbursement and paycheck to employees. So general ledger clerk make entries which must have equal debit and credit as follow. We see first we start to recognize the liabilities, and then we do the double entry for the disbursement of the account and payment to the employees. Okay. Here we have the data flow diagram of the payroll procedures. So just now we present the conceptual system of the payroll in narrative way. So let's see the data flow diagram visualizing the same functions. So we start with payroll, preparing the payroll. And when we prepare the payroll, we should start by bringing the information from the personal departments. When there is any new action, personal actions, as we said, activating new staff, or we have what we call changing the payment or salary rate and so on. And then also from receiving the input from the production departments, we receive the time card uh, recording the time spent in the record, and also sending from production department will send also the job tickets to update the working in progress account, stating the hours rate and job numbers, and this will also record in the working in process file, and also will send to update the general ledger, just to update the labor distribution summary, just to update what we call the liability of the company of this timing job ticket, or the timing that the employees work in. After that, we prepare the account payable. Preparing the account payable by sending the preparing the payroll register. And when we prepare the payroll register, we should update the voucher register through the amount, due date, and check number. And then we send the payroll register also to prepare the cash disbursement. Preparing the cash disbursement, we will have first we will record or keep the amount and date in the check register, and also we will send to the bank payroll check. Payroll check, as we said, it will be a single check for the total amount of the salary and of all salaries, and it will goes to a specific account called impersed account that used only for payroll. And then we preparing then we will send, also we will update the general voucher as well as updating the general ledger function. Then we after that we prepare or we distribute the paycheck to the employees. So each employee will get their employee paychecks and distribute it to the employees, and then employees will go in person to withdraw their cash from the bank. Okay. So this is a payroll register example, just showing that the payment for each staff. So each staff have details of the amount and any deduction and so on. And this is employee payroll record, recording the timing of work and also the amount they deserve. And this is employee paycheck, and you can see here is the check for each. This is the amount and also the name of the employee, Jessica Jones. Here and they will tear the paper from here and withdraw, collect this, and this is details about the payment. After talking about the conceptual system of payroll system, let's talk about the two types of physical systems. So we are going to talk about basic technology processing as well as the advanced technology processing. As we explained in early classes, we explained that basic technology processing system, meaning that where the majority of the transactions still in manual base, and the involvement of IT is in minor level, where advanced technology processing system, or we call it integrated technology system, the manual base activities is in a minor level, and the technology is taking majority activities to either in automated base or in the digital filing process. So let's go to see one by one. We start with basic technology. Let's see the basic technology payroll system. So the activities will start with personal action and time and attendance information to initiate the payroll process. And we know, as we discussed in the conceptual system, personal action, time, and attendance information, also any change in the salary rate and so on. All of this will come from either production department or personal departments, will come to the payroll department to prepare all of this information for preparing the payroll process. And then payroll department reconciles this information, calculate the payroll, and send the paycheck to paymaster for distribution to employees. After that, cost accounting receives information regarding time spent on each job from posting to the working in process subsidiary ledger. Then account payable receives payroll register and authorizes cash disbursement to deposit a check, a single check, into the bank impressed account from which payroll is drawn. Lastly, General Ledger Department reconciles summary information and update the accounts. So let's see. Here we have the basic technology payroll system flowchart. So we can see here up is the departments. We have production, cost accounting, payroll, accounting, payable department, cash disbursement department, and then general ledger department. So the transaction start from first from the production. In the production department, will send the time card uh, and the job tickets in a manual base, and then the this job ticket will goes to the key in the post to for posting to the working in process to update the digital file here. This is digital file, updating it, and then keep labor and also process the labor this disbursement summary or distribution summary into the general ledger to be uh, to be uh, updating the general ledger in the from the cost accounting. And then the time card also will be an input, as well as the personal information if there is any changes, any personal action. All of these two documents will be the key in into a terminal to key in into the employee payroll procedures file, as well as to create a personal action. Time cards will be filed in the payroll department, and as well as pay slip and payroll register will be prepared and sent to paymaster. Will keep in paymaster, as and then it will be sent to account payable for updating. And if you notice here, this one is the manual transaction or manual processing of payroll voucher for payroll. So updating with 3 copies, generating 3 copies of payroll register. 1 copy will send to cash disbursement, and one other copy will send to 2 copies will send to the cash disbursement, and 1 copy will send to the general ledger for updating. And then this is what we call, it will be the reconciled the two documents. And then after that we'll have digital update of the check register. And then also we have general ledger master file will be updated, updating the digital general ledger master file of payroll. So you can see here it's most of the transaction and activity still in manual base, except of digital files here and there in each department, which is not integrated. Each department keep uh, their own file and update in their own. Now let's say the advanced technology payroll system. In advanced technology system, we said we have integrated advanced technology software used within the company, especially with the large organizations. Often they use the integrated payroll processing within the human resource management system, which capture a wide range of personal related data. So let's see the activities in advanced technology payroll system, how it's processed. And we can see here, we will see most of this transaction is based on technology or based on automated process. And we can see here the using the input devices as well as the digital files here and there. So we start the human resource clerk enter the data in employee records in real time. We mean if there is any changes related to the employee personal information, or recording or activating new stuff, and if there is any deduction and so on. Then cost accounting enters job cost data in real time as well to create the labor usage file. Then biometric time clock verify employee identify So we identify biometric time, clocks verifying the time in and out, and magnetic sweep. ID cards work like credit card and identify time worked. I think that most of the students are get used to have this, and even some of you be experience recording the attendance into the class using the attendance using the time the metric card. Now in the with this pandemic and studying online, we also use the attendance record through the application. We have those application recording the attendance, capturing the time in time out for each student and each participant in each class. Proximity cards use readers to record the time card, and then mobile remote devices allow employees to clock in using handheld devices or web browsers. And now we can, even with using the mobile remote devices, will also allow to identify the location for the stuff, so either in campus or off campus, so we can it can be identified and know where you are working, where is your location, you start your working or class. Then data processing is done in batch at the end of the working period. So sometimes it's weekly, sometimes it's monthly. That's the processing of data. But the previous recording and input is kind of inputting data into the system, but which carry real time. But for the processing, it is based on the batch. After the system receive the information, personal information, receiving the time record in real time base, the process of this information will be, as we said, is based on batch system, but still automated process. The labor cost distributed to working in process, overhead, and expenses account. Online labor distribution file is created, and then payroll is calculated, and an online payroll register is created. Employee record files are updated. Paycheck are prepared, signed, and distributed. This one can be manual, but in more advanced system can do this process through the system itself. And then fund to cover the payroll are transferred to the payroll impost account, and the transfer is recorded. Okay, then digital journal vouchers are entered, and system automatically updates the general ledger. Just for your information, if you use more advanced, now most of the companies, they don't use the check system. So after sending the fund to the Ember system, then it will be directly transferred to the staff or employees personal bank account. Okay, so here the integrated payroll and HRM system, the human resource system. So we can see here the the process starts from human resource department by entering the personal data, and we said the personal data, we know what is it. It's either activating the new employee, or any changes in the payment salary rate, and other information, job classification, and so on. So then it will update it in real time to the human resource management system, and this human resource system is automated system. You can see the entry of time, and it is updated through the employee themselves, so it will update the system in real time. Also, the job tickets will be updated also in real time to the system. And then you can see here many digital accounts, digital files within the process. We have less manual documents, and we have less manual processing transaction. Most of the process or activities is automated. Okay, let us talk now about the payroll cycle risk and internal controls. This is a good summary for the payroll system risk and threats, as well as the controls. And we have the controls, we have physical controls and IT controls. Remember, if we use basic basic IT system, then we will have more physical controls than the IT controls. But if we use advanced system, then we will have more in IT control than the physical controls. So let's have them one by one. We have the inaccurately record transaction. So if you use basic system, then we have accounting records, audit trial documents, journal accounts, and as well as the files. So we have the we ensure the accuracy of the recording of the transaction based on the checking the documents and reconciling the documents. But if we use IT controls, um, uh, if we have the advanced system or even basic, so the IT controls is to ensure the input data edit, error message for any wrong key in, file backup to keep the file to have backup files of the data. Lastly, automated posting to the accounts. Okay, so the next threat is misappropriation of cash through the payroll fraud. In the physical controls, we have transaction authorization, we have segregation of duties, we have supervision activities. So in transaction authorization, we have personal actions form to ensure this transaction is authorized, so approved by higher level of the company or of the management. Then segregation of duties between the timekeeping, personal, account payable, cash disbursement, paymaster. All of these actions should be segregated. And then supervision of timekeeping process, then access control over the source document, journals, and ledger. Okay, so in the IT controls, we have limit test, biometric scanners, validation controls, direct deposit, and multi-level security to provide segregation of duties. And for unauthorized access to payroll data for the basic physical controls, it's same like what we mentioned just now about transaction authorization and segregation of duties. So it's same as well, supervision, whereby for the IT controls we can use also password controls, as well as security, multi-level security to prevent unauthorized access to data. Okay, so here we have also some detailing up of payroll system risk and internal controls. Here we have the risk of inaccurately recording of the transaction. We already mentioned this, but this is in more detail, so I will not explain it again. It's kind of just to show how you understand in details, based on not only based on the talking about the risk includes, but also explain whether it's physical or IT verification. So here we explain the physical controls in details. Here we have the IT controls in this slide for the same risk in inaccurately recording of the transaction. And this is also the risk of misappropriation of cash through the payroll fraud. Talking first the physical controls, and then we bring the IT controls. So I would suggest you to go through the details here, but you can also get the summary from the table that we explained just now. Here we have the last risk based on the risk of unauthorized access of payroll record and confidential employee data. So we have the motives includes the malicious act such as corrupting or deleting payroll data. Sometimes some stuff get angry of some managers and try to destroy the the data of the company and so on, or thiefness of this confidential information and sell it to outsiders. Attempts to prepare appropriate of the payroll fraud. Controls is to have password protected payroll files and then multi-level securities to limit the access to human resource data. And all of this, as I said, is explained in the table in summary, but if you want to go through the details, you can refer even to the textbook. So here we have more details explaining the risk and the controls. So in for the three main activities, the three first activities: updating master payroll data, validate time and attendance data, prepare the payroll. The risk is unauthorized changes to payroll master data, inaccurate updating of master data, and accurate timing and attendance data, errors in processing payroll. So for the first one, for the unauthorized changes of payroll, so to control it is to control access controls and segregation of duties, whereby for the second one about inaccurate updating of master data, we have data processing integrity controls. For the inaccurate time and attendance data, we have two controls: first, supervision review and source data automation for data capture if it is IT. Okay, and for the fourth one, error in processing payroll, is having two activities to control it: data processing integrity control and supervisory review. And you can see here what we explain here is it has been summarized in the table in the previous slide. In the activities for disperse payroll and uh, disperse payroll tax, the risk is thiefness of fraudulent distribution of paycheck, failure to make required payments, and timely payment and accurate payment. So the controls will be in the right side. Either we have, let's say, let's take one example. Let's say we take number 2, failure to make required payment. So the controls is configure system to make automated payment on time, and so on. So you can go through one by one, but the idea is simple. We have risk related to each activity, and we have controls to control it, and this control either to be physical or IT, based on the system, the system processing system used, either basic technology system or advanced technology system. If we use advanced integrated system, then we will have more IT controls in place. Now let's talk about new topic on payroll system, which is outsourcing the payroll. Outsourcing meaning that we uh, ask third party or agent to done the activities of payroll on behalf of the company. Why people do outsourcing of payroll is because it save time, save money, accuracy, ensuring the accuracy, also ensuring and enhancing the security as well as the accountability. The 5 reasons. So the reasons to outsource payroll: first, many small and medium companies choose to outsource their payroll. The choice is for convenience because there are companies that specialize in this one activity. So they are specialized in payroll activity and they have their software and they have their expert in human resource, and they done it well professionally. So the logic is that if they are great at this activity, it reduces the likelihood of errors. Uh, Payroll errors can be costly to correct, and without the proper experience, this can be an added and unnecessary cost for organizations. So most of the companies they will prefer to have external parties, but normally is the small and medium companies. Reason why big company they don't go for outsourcing. Not most of the big company. Some of them they prefer to have in-house payroll to keep. It's about the confidential information about their staff. It reduces the costs of processing and minimize the human errors as well as the IT errors as well. Broader range of benefits, administration of benefits, and free up computer resources. Now we talk about the fixed assets system. So we will talk about the fixed assets system. Before we discuss the conceptual of fixed asset system, let's first know what is the fixed assets. Just to recall this, fixed assets is including the land, property, furniture, equipment, buildings, and factories. So the first activity in the conceptual fixed asset system is the fixed asset system process transaction pertaining to acquisition, buying the fixed assets in the first place, as well as the maintenance along holding and using these assets, and disposal of the assets in the time of replacing these assets. The specific objectives of um, fixed assets: first is to process fixed assets acquisition as needed and in accordance with the formal management approval and procedures. Maintain adequate account records of assets acquisition, cost, depreciation, and physical location in the organization. Maintain accurate depreciation record. Provide management with the needed information about the fixed assets. Lastly, record retirement, the retirement and disposal of assets. To summarize those 5 objectives, you can see in the left. So fixed assets checklist is checking the location, quantity, condition, and maintenance schedule, depreciation status. Under the fixed assets conceptual system, we can categorize the system into 3 main activities based on the assets acquisition, assets maintenance, and disposal of that fixed assets. So we start with assets acquisitions, which begins when the manager determines assets needs to be replaced or a new fixed assets is warranted. And then in maintenance of the assets involve the adjusting of the fixed assets subsidiary accounts balances as assets depreciation. So we have depreciation calculation are internal transaction that the fixed assets system bases upon a depreciation schedule, and then the physical improvement must also be recorded to increase the subsidiary account balance and depreciation schedule. Lastly, at the end of the asset's useful life or earlier sometime if there is a need to change or upgrade the machine or the factory, so assets must be removed from the fixed assets system subsidiary ledger, or we call it assets disposal. The disposals require disposal require forms and disposal reports as source document as well as proper approval, because this is the disposal of assets is one of the management the management fraudulent practice. So they can sell the assets where it's still useful, and the company can get the benefit just to commit a fraud. Okay, so this is the data flow diagram for fixed asset system, starting by authorizing the procedures. And when we start with, when we have the purchase requisition from the user department, so they create the need, they need the certain fixed assets, so equipment or machine or so on. So then the authorization process normally is the top management board or board of directors will approve that, and then we process the purchasing of that assets. So we send to purchase order will send to the vendor as well as send to account payable. Then the vendor will send the packing slip, and items or the equipment or the car or anything that we part of the under the fixed assets. So we receive that items, and we reconcile prepare the receiving report to also to support the to support the account payable process. And then we keep in the account payable subsidiary ledger, and we send also a copy to account cost data under the cost assets accounting, and then we pay the vendor the cash disbursement, then updating the general ledger process. Then we have also, when we do the disposal in the maintenance, we have the user department. Normally if it is machine or something, then it will be the production, so we need to keep updating the fixed assets account with the depreciation schedules and the cutting. And if we do disposal, then we need to have proper authorization and then disposal process, and also the involvement of the users department. And this is the depreciation schedules. The process or the activities under the computer base of the acquisition procedures of the fixed assets start by when the fixed assets accounting clerk receives a receiving report of these items from the vendor and a cash disbursement voucher. So the clerk create a record of the assets in the fixed assets ledger, and the system automatically updates the general ledger and prepare journal vouchers, and reports include the depreciation schedules. So here in the figure, in this figure, fixed assets record structure shows the items number, location, depreciation, and the assets life month, as well as the residual value, the cost of that assets, and the book value, which will help in the depreciation and maintenance. For the maintenance and disposal, computerized fixed assets automatically calculates the current period depreciation, update the accumulated depreciation and book value fields in the subsidiary records, post total depreciation to the affected general ledger account, lastly records the depreciation transaction. When an assets record is deleted from the fixed assets system, the system automatically posts an adjusting entry to the fixed assets control account in the general ledger, records the losses or the gains associated with the disposal transaction, and then prepare a journal vouchers of the disposal activity. And this is the activity that of the computer-based fixed assets system for the three activity: for the acquisition, for the maintenance, as well as for the disposal. In the acquisition, we can see that the fixed assets department will key in the amount of the account payable in the time of buying through the disbursement voucher, as well as the receiving report will be key into the terminal to update the entry of new assets on the files. The updated files were digital files of fixed assets file and journal voucher file and general ledger master file. Okay, so this is in the acquisition, whereby for the maintenance, along the useful life of the items will be the users department will update the changes in terms of the depreciation amount, and as well as will send this update into the depreciation schedule file, and will receive use the information of depreciation schedule file and update those three files of that particular assets. And in the in the disposal activity, the the department will involve in the sales disposal procedures. So we start with disposal report. Normally we need authorizing documents by the top management, either the CEO or the board of directors, and then keep the one copy of the report and terminal entry to the system to process the removal of the assets from the files. And the files will be affected is the three general ledger, general voucher file, and fixed assets. Here we have asset state report stating the amount of the depreciation, first the depreciation method, data acquired, and the cost, and as well as the the depreciation. Here we have example of fixed assets depreciation report stating the methods. If you can see, each 5 years or 3 years they change the method. And now we are going to talk about the risk and controls associated with fixed assets. So fixed asset system risk and controls. The first activity is authorization control, should be formal and explicit, written request and independent approval for high value items, as we said, because fixed assets carry a lot of value or cost, even though it's not frequently purchasing those items or disposal those items, but it's required independent and higher level of approval. Supervision controls are an important element in physical security of fixed assets, ensuring the assets are used in accordance with the organizational policies and that they are not taken home for personal use unless authorized. Then independent verification controls should be used by internal auditors to test for reasonableness of fixed assets acquisition and approvals. Verify the location, condition, and fair value of fixed assets against the fixed assets record in the subsidiary ledger. Check programming logic for automatic calculation, especially for the depreciation. With Here we are in the end of this lecture. Today we talk about the payroll and as well as the fixed assets systems. We talk about the conceptual system and activities under the payroll, and we talk about the conceptual system of the fixed assets. We After that we talk about the two IT systems, talking about the basic technology processing system and the advanced technology processing system for the payroll and the fixed assets. And then we also demonstrate some explanation and also some documents related to the payroll or fixed assets. We may give some information or some illustrate some discussion on the fixed assets, that it's divide into three main categories or groups: the acquisition and the maintenance, as well as the disposal of the assets. We talk also about the risk associated to the edge activities, either under payroll or fixed assets. I believe that's all for today. So if you have any questions, please write it down, and we have the discussion next week. Thank you.